Welcome to my new podcast season of Ignite Purpose with Christina Foxwell. Lessons from the Glass Angel. That's what this season is all about, how we can be better together. In this season, we're going to explore transformation and how it can impact our life, change our view of our story, and help us live a life that's filled with purpose and compassion, a life where we can really be better together. In my story, I have found that we can't change the past. We can change the way we see our story. I can heal from my pain and I can stop the cycles of behavior that are fueled by my trauma and the ones that keep me surviving. Surviving is definitely not thriving, and it's time we start living, leading, and really loving our world. It's time to be the best of you. This week, we're going to be streaming our book launch for Africa, Australia, and the UK. And I have got a wonderful MC, Paul Talliard, who is about to start our practice in the UK. And I also have my dear friend Sydney Austalia dialing in from Zimbabwe. So I hope you enjoy this stream with us, and it'll be on YouTube as well as on the podcast. And I think it's time to get stuck in, don't you? All right, well, here we go. Hope you enjoy.
Hi, and welcome to everyone. This is a special edition of the Ignite Purpose book launch of Glass Angel, and I'm your host, Paul Talliard, speaking to you from our office in Sydney, Australia. And today we'll be discussing Christina's latest book with her. A special welcome to all attendees from Africa, Australia, Europe, and Asia. We appreciate you taking the time to spend with us. But firstly, in the spirit of reconciliation, Ignite Purposes acknowledges the traditional custodians of our country throughout Australia and their connections to the land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. Special thanks to everyone who's made this event possible. And firstly, I want to welcome our author, Christina Talliard, with us. Welcome, Christina.
I love that you say Christina Talliard. Hi, Paul.
Christina Foxwell, sorry.
That's right. Nice to be here. Thank you for the welcome.
I've known you for a little bit. I think it's a fair few years, and it's your birthday today, which is a great day. So it's 40 odd years that we've known each other. So I've known you for a little bit longer, hopefully, than you've known yourself, maybe because I'm just slightly older than you, but that doesn't really matter. So, but thank you so much, Christina, even for having me, because I'm visiting Australia from the United Kingdom. And I'm so really privileged that you asked me to join you in this beautiful event. We have another amazing guest with us tonight, Sydney Austalia, and she is coming to us from Africa, or beaming across continents tonight. She is a very successful businesswoman in Africa, has been featured on Forbes Africa. So welcome, Sydney.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
It is.
So how are you ladies doing today?
Yeah, we're good. It's been an interesting day, hey, Titi, but we're good.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we've had some interesting technical experiences today, as some of you might or might not know. But you know, all beautiful things are born in discomfort, but they grow into something beautiful. So hopefully you will bear with us as we launch into this part of our experience. So well, we're all here together, and I'm going to pivot a little bit now. And Christina, I'd like to ask you, why did you write this book?
Paul, that is such a good question. And I think in order to answer that question, I would like to read the welcome that's in front of my Glass Angel story. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. The quote I have on the left-hand side, so for everybody can see out there, it says, "I am the author of my story. I was never broken. I was and am on a journey of alchemy and transformation. My life is a gift." And here is the foreword. Years ago, I brought glass angels for my Christmas tree. They were so fragile and beautiful. At that moment, I felt like one of those angels myself, but I was imperfect. My wings were broken. I have a story which I'll get into in part 2, but first in part 1, I want to show you how this glass angel and my story is an analogy for alchemy, the seemingly magical process of transformation and creation. Maybe it's a story that's part of your life too. You see, I grew up in South Africa where I was the daughter of a Pentecostal minister. I had a great love of God and I knew I had a calling to be a difference maker. I didn't follow the path of going into ministry at 17 like I thought I might. Growing up, I experienced deep-rooted shame and fear of not being good enough, which set my journey in a different direction. I needed to walk a path that would not only teach me compassion, grace, love, and hope, but would also allow me to give the same gift to others. Maybe this is the greatest calling, to be kind, generous, and courageous. My personal story is about surviving domestic violence, unfaithful behavior, intense rejection, and judgment. It's one of learning how to survive in my world. The greatest gifts of my story is about reaching a place where my alchemy was the only choice. You see, as the broken angel, I worked so hard to prove I was good enough. I was dedicated to my career and to making a difference to prove my worth. My intent was good, yet it was tangled up in my pain. I struggled with emotions and I was hard on myself and others, especially if they couldn't just suck it up. I believed I could push forward and create the world I needed when I focused on my career. I hoped that this commitment would make me worthy and accepted. I found that all the striving, fighting, and needing to be seen created armor that separated me from what I needed most, which was to accept and love myself first. You can't give what you don't have. Maybe at best you can replicate what you are and put that energy into the world. My story's painful and shameful parts felt too hard to endure, so I started developing coping behaviors that would numb the pain or make me feel loved. In reality, these mechanisms did neither and only deepened the wounds I needed to forgive and release. What I actually needed to do was realize that I was never bad or unworthy of love. I am me, and that is what makes me good enough. Beneath the pain and shame and the armor that protected me, which I call my ninja Barbie, I was the answer. I needed to accept and connect and retell my story with love, forgiveness, hope, and compassion. The story needed to start within me first, including forgiveness of self. As you read The Glass Angel, I hope you can give yourself over to the metaphor and consider what you might be holding on to that is keeping you wrapped up in your warrior or protected self. We can all go through alchemy. Maybe it's time for your transformation. I wanted to be at peace, and today I'm living peace daily and embracing all my gifts. I'm grateful, and I recognize it's a journey.
Wow. Okay. That's a deep answer. Before we go any deeper into Christina's book, Titi, I know that you have a question or two for her about why healing and transformation is important in our lives. Why do you think, Titi, that it's important?
Wow, it's such a loaded question, but such a necessary one. I think from personal experience, I believe that healing is a journey, as not as much a destination. There's so many things that happen in our lives that sometimes we take for granted, and sometimes we even self-harm without even knowing we're doing it. And because of these things, taking time to reflect and acknowledging the fact that we have wounds that we need to heal from is very important. And acknowledging and realizing where these wounds come from and why we got to the places that we are in that need us to heal is equally important. And so when you pick up books like the one Christina has written, you really have a moment where you can reflect on yourself and you can ask yourself, am I healing? Do I know what my wounds are? Do I even acknowledge them? And you can see somebody who's been through processes, who's been through processes where they have held up a mirror to themselves, and which is not the easiest thing to do. Holding up a mirror, we take for granted that we check ourselves in the mirror every day to see if we're looking smart and we're all dressed up and everything. But the truth is, holding up a mirror is not just to check if we're looking okay for the world to see. Is to really look at ourselves, because that's the only way we can see ourselves, through a mirror. Otherwise, all the other times where we are seen is through other people's eyes. So holding up the mirror all of a sudden allows us to see ourselves. And instead of just checking quickly, it's taking that moment and looking at every flaw that might be there, every perfection that is there, and acknowledging and embracing yourself. And I think this amazing gift that Christina is giving us is a way that we can start ourselves on our own personal healing journeys, because we can see somebody who's being authentic and enough to open themselves up and say, I am on this journey. I have been on this journey, and these are my experiences.
Oh, that's so powerful.
Well, Titi, that is inspirational. Honestly, I think you got it right there. Boom, bullseye. I love that. And I love the fact that you identified that it starts with us, eh? And
It
that
does.
the healing has to start inside. Because I think what a
It
lot of
does.
people do is we're trying to paint the house, but the house is crumbling instead of underpinning the walls and underpinning the things that are a bit shaky. I think the most difficult thing, I don't know how you feel about this, but the most difficult thing is about leaders and strong people acknowledging that.
And you know what? In the past, our viewpoint of what leaders are has led us to sometimes not being able to embrace the fact that we can all be leaders in different spaces, and we can all bring value in different ways. When we think of leadership, we think of heroes. We think of those people that can go through anything and still remain strong. But these, the modern days, or the generation that we live in now, has had some of the most honest leaders who have admitted to being broken, leaders who've admitted to making mistakes, leaders who've admitted to being human. And being human is saying, you know what, I have made mistakes, I have made bad choices, but that does not make me a bad person. It means that I have been adulting, and adulting comes with no manuscript. No one tells us how to be an adult. We just figure it out as we go along. I mean, if I always say to Christina, if they gave me a choice, I would probably still be in newborn and diapers, because, well, half the problems of the world would not be a problem by then. I'd just be trying to figure out, when am I getting fed? When is my next milk coming? And we'd be good. But adulting is all of a sudden, you are the responsible party. I mean, I think I have 3 young kids, and if anything goes wrong, they come running and they're like, mommy's got an answer. And I'm like, what? Who's mommy? I'm mommy. And so leadership is acknowledging that even when you are mommy, sometimes you don't have the answer. And sometimes the answer is just a hug. and trying to figure it out together. Leadership is about being vulnerable, because most times people don't need to see, those statues made out of granite rock that are just solid. They need to feel the strength of the rock, but they also need to see the vulnerability of it, the fact that it can weather the different storms that come its way, but at the same time, it has that softness, that ability to be approached, that ability to come together, to rally people together. And so leadership in itself is asking yourself, how can you serve other people whilst being your authentic self?
Beautiful.
I totally agree with that. And our proposition together, in actual fact, this is very much based on the work that Christina has done previously, has been that leadership begins with self. And, when I first became a manager of the team, no one taught me that. It was like, there's a group of people, manage them and get an outcome. And no one said, manage yourself first. Now, some of us, have this tendency to self-analyze and maybe be a little bit more self-aware, because I don't think everyone is totally unaware. Some people naturally just get it to some degree, but it's about the innate knowledge that actually the management of others begins with the management of me. And I love that bit that you said, Titi, where it was like, leading people could be tiny, could be you and me, but actually the principles are exactly the same. It starts with that self-awareness. It starts with that, as you so previously beautifully said, that healing of yourself, because ourselves and our own behaviors have a way of, moving on to other people. So I think that was such a profound comment. Titi, I know that you have a question or two for Christina. So I'm going to pass the microphone over to you, the virtual microphone, all the way over to Africa. There we are. So there you have the floor.
Chrissy, thank you so much for this incredible gift. You are such a phenomenal giver, and you have such an open heart. And I am so grateful for your presence in my life, and I think in the life of so many people that you transform through the work that you do, through the books that you share with us, and your vulnerability, your ability to show us who you are and take ownership of that, and be able to want to see other people healing as much as you can give. So thank you so much for that gift. Yes. So my question to you is, as you come from the continent, and how, and I think it's not as much focused on the continent as it is focused on the gender stereotypes that we have seen globally, where we expect some people to be stronger than others, sometimes men to be stronger than women, and sometimes women to be stronger than men. And yes, in various situations, we have these assumptions of who should be stronger, who should take up these roles. But the truth is, everybody is hurting, and we've come from a space where global lockdowns, a pandemic, everything that happened in the last 2 years has been painful on us as people, mentally and physically. Yes. And so when you speak of healing, and as I said before, that it's a journey within itself. Yeah. What would you say have been some of the milestones that you have seen that are important for people to look at and engage in their healing journey? Because like I said, it's neither being a man or being a woman, but it's looking at your pain and looking at your wound and looking at where you are and identifying where you would want to be.
Beautiful. All right. So that is such a deep and fully loaded question, which I love. So firstly, I don't think we actually want to recognize that we need healing, because that in itself seems to be a vulnerable thing. Okay. And the challenge I see, and I saw it in my own life, is that it's not an instant thing. And it's not something that we even get told we've got to work on. I mean, come on. The first time I really needed to get deep into this, I was like, oh, no, what are people going to say? Who will I identify as when that happens? And so I think the first key element I want to bring to light is we all need to go on a journey of transformation and healing. I think we have behaviors that get in the way, that stop us from being who we fully can be in our full potential. You see, I mean, even in my story, I'll use that as an example because that just comes straight out of me, right? If I didn't start my transformation journey, I would be teaching everybody else how to suck it up, harden up, and do what's required. Because I come from the continent, like I come from Africa. I come from a place where it isn't easy. I don't think it's easy anywhere in the world. I mean, I came from Africa to Australia and I thought, woohoo, and I cried my first 3 years. One tough African chick went on a crazy roller coaster ride to find her way. So what I want to say is we're human beings, and human beings are wired to survive. And in our wiring to survive, we hurt each other. And that means we need to heal. And so I, for example, sat with somebody, we were running a wellness program about a week ago with professionals. And in this program, I was sharing the importance of healing through love. And one of the professionals said to me, okay, but I understand that I've got a disconnection in my life with my husband. And my problem is I just don't know where to find the root of the issue, because I don't think there's anything in my life that has been bad. And see, I think some of us have locked away some of the things that we should address. And I call it the dirty little secret, or the little shame, the shame root that nobody knows. I think we even lock it out. And there's no right or wrong to it. The challenge is if we've got continual cycles of behavior because we're trying to outrun our pain, we're trying to numb our pain, we're trying to get rewarded. So somebody else needs to fill my cup because it hurts so bad. Those constant cycles are just going to take me to a place where it just gets bigger and heavier. And your repeating cycles are just going to keep coming back on you. So coming back to your question, we all need to heal. We need to recognize when we're in those cycles of negative and fear-based emotions, and when they're taking us into a place where we know fundamentally that is not the best of who I am. And you know what? For me, it was those moments of, this is getting very heavy. I don't know if I can carry this. I started getting brittle, angry, cranky, working harder, making more money, trying to push myself. But the push was the problem, not the flow. See, when I am my true, authentic self and I've started healing, I can stand in a place of acceptance. And that's not apathy. That is a state of deep wisdom, deep love, deep understanding. And I think that is what healing brings about: grace, peacefulness, freedom. When I'm not healed, I'm always strangled. So I don't know if I've answered your question, Tsitsi, but I could carry on for a lifetime. I could run a workshop, which we're going to talk about anyway, called Healing Through Love. Was that an okay answer, Tsitsi?
It was an okay answer. And I think what it does, it just opened up the thought process a bit further than I actually had in mind, and really dug deeper. So when you're looking at individuals, we tend to not be accepting of the fact that we need healing. We cover it up, like you said. We find outlets of pain, and we find outlets and I hope everybody doesn't think of outlets of pain always being negative. Sometimes they look positive, because you can be doing so well at work and getting promotions and everything might be going fantastic, but you're feeling a feeling of emptiness, a feeling of I have all this, yet I cannot appreciate it. I cannot embrace it. And so looking at that, what are some of the red flags that you have seen, Christina, in this journey of healing that people use as crutches when they have what looks like what I always call the screensaver life? It looks beautiful on the outside.
Screensaver life.
Beautiful on
Love
the
that.
outside. And it's, I mean, like, look at where we're sitting right now. We've got these beautiful screensavers behind us, and it looks glorious.
We've got green
But,
screens, people. Yeah.
In the background, there could be a lot going on, and only you know what's going on in the background.
Totally.
But to the world, they've seen this beautiful picture. So what are the red flags that can tell somebody that this is a beautiful picture, but it's not really you embracing your true self, or you truly being happy?
So imagine people being able to see your imperfect self, and you being able to stand in that moment with deep acceptance. I'm answering the question back to front as usual, Tsitsi.
Okay.
And Paul and I spoke about this actually yesterday, didn't we, Paul? Where we spoke about we drive the sexy car, we got the sexy house, got the sexy husband, got the perfect kids, everything's great. Ah, but my child is having mental health issues because he's being bullied at school. Ah, I'm so exhausted on weekends, I can't even open my eyes to spend time with my beautiful husband. Ah, I am having adrenal fatigue because I'm working so hard that I actually can't pull myself into any state of actually communicating and connecting with the people who actually love and forgive me every single day. And they're the people in my life. And so the challenge is, if we're coming back to those key things, if I am trying to present to the world who I am, it's my mask. And I just want to stop and share this, and then I'm sure Paul's got a stack of questions for us too, Titi. We're going to keep running. But if I am scared of what others are going to say, and look, I come from a place where we get judged, right? So having grown up in quite a closed community, I joked with my mom the other day. So please, I'm not saying anything bad, but I joked with my mom the other day. I said, when we were so enclosed in a community, it was like Lord of the Flies, who's going to, because we couldn't, when it's a really closed religious community, like you start turning on each other. And I don't know why. I have no idea why, but I was so scared to be imperfect in a minister's home. I actually talk about it in my book, having been molested as a child and my voice being taken away because we couldn't talk about it. If we spoke about it, what would that mean to the ministry? What would that mean to how people perceived us? What would that mean for us? And so we wear these masks, and then we silence stories that need to be spoken. And when we silence those stories, we give shame the opportunity to take its hold and start strangling who we really are. And you see, I call shame the rust at the bottom of my love tank. Of course I do. When shame is eating away at me, I'll never be full. I'll never be whole. I will always be exchanging myself as part of the bargain to feel worthy and good enough. And you see, we've got to stop that. Titi, once again, I've taken what you've asked me and I've gone, and I've run around the room. So I hope that was a good reflection.
Yes, absolutely. It was a good reflection. And one last question.
Okay.
One last question.
Go for it.
And I'm full of these questions. As you were writing the book and you were sharing with the world, it couldn't have been an easy process given the background you come from, as well as the life that you've created. And then having the difficult task of holding up the mirror, seeing yourself, and being able to see the things you don't like, as well as the things you do like.
Yeah.
In this process that you went through, what is it that you wanted to impart? What is it that you wanted to have other people take from this experience and apply in their own lives? Because naturally, as human beings, when we see other people allowing themselves to be vulnerable, we also feel that it's okay to be ourselves.
Yes.
And so in this process, when you were writing this book, when you were sharing your story, when you were sharing your processes, what did you want the reader to feel, to see, to hear, to experience?
You are not alone. You have hope. You are not shame. You are worthy of love and belonging. Your life is the biggest gift. Nothing in your life has happened that is bad. You are not bad. You are perfect. You are beautiful. You are perfectly formed. Your story is your greatest gift. You have been chosen to be an alchemist. You've been chosen to make a difference in this world. You've been chosen to be just who you are. And in order to bring to life your gifts, you need to go through this process of love. And so that's what I wanted to call out, because you know what? When it's too hard to bear, you don't want to be here anymore. And you know what? That's not what you were called for. You were called to be here. You were called to walk amongst each other with love. And so that's why I wrote this story, because I was absolutely so filled with this. When I look back at my story and I went, ooh, you don't look so bad. I'm no longer scared of you. I love you. That little brown girl that never knew where she belonged. I love you. I love you. That little girl who thought, I no longer have a voice. I've given her voice back. It's time. It's time. And you know, the only way we can do this is when we stand next to each other. There's no other way. And so I'm hoping that my book births compassion. See, when I work on me, I work on love for me. So when I look at you, I have love for you. That's it. That's it, Tsitsi. Was that okay?
That was bang on. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Paul, we're going to throw the mic back to Australia.
Okay, we take the mic back to Australia, but Tsitsi, please feel free to join us and stay on board. I think this, I just think the conversation you guys are having is such a beautiful and necessary one. And I think this was a visceral book. That's all I could say. It was a visceral book. When Christina told me she was going to write the book and some of the topics, some of these things I had no idea had happened. Some of them I was aware of. And to say that there was a discomfort would be a great understatement. But as Christina went through this process, Christina, as you went through this process and we were speaking about what was happening, I felt it was important for you to have this opportunity to speak your truth to the world and speak the truth of so many other people whose pain is hidden and whose challenges are hidden. Because I think in society, a lot of the time, we don't talk about things that need speaking about. Yeah. We don't talk about injuries, things that have been very harmful. We try to gloss over them. Now, as a man, and I can only speak as a male, we don't do this very well. We don't do vulnerability very well. We don't do talking to each other very well. And this makes it challenging because I mean, almost 50% of the population finds it difficult to communicate. The other 50% have to deal with that. And that's, you know, a challenge in its own right. I mean, I was talking to my wife a few weeks ago when she was saying to me, you know, when I go out and I talk to my friends and we have these lovely conversations, and she's a professional too. So They go out and the ladies will go for a drink, or they might, go for a meal and such like. She said, when do you guys talk? I said, we don't. Have you ever seen men interact with each other? Hey, mate, how you doing? Oh, yeah, I swam that. I went and did that triathlon. I went up, cycled up the Pyrenees. It was amazing. But we so don't talk about real pain and real issues. And we absolutely barely have any concept about healing.
True.
So this, although challenging conversation, is a necessary one. And firstly, I want to thank you for writing this. I thought you were incredibly brave, very transparent. It wasn't an easy read, but what I loved about your book was the bit that the analogy and the metaphor of the glass angel. I just want to read a bit here. The gift of the glass angel is our broken parts are never quite really broken. They are just part of our story, that when we accept and forgive, release and love, we can use as a gift.
That's powerful, isn't it?
It's very difficult to sometimes look at these things and say, is there a gift in it? When it's hard. It's awful sometimes. What do you think?
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard because I'm going to say a few things. Nobody wants something like that to happen to them. Nobody wants life to happen to them in a way where they're totally not in control and they feel they're being judged at every moment. Nobody wants that. I think you're gonna have to give me your question again, because man, I've got so much emotion running around in me at the moment. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Give me that question again, Paul.
Essentially, what I was asking you was that our brains work the same. Once we've launched it doesn't quite go. But I think the essence of what I was trying to get at was why it was important to be able to discuss these challenging issues. And although it's sometimes horrific and difficult,
Yes,
it's why it's important to go and address those issues.
Yes. So it is important to address them, and it's important to forgive.
Okay.
It's important to forgive, because without forgiveness, my broken pieces always pierce me. Because I'm shouting, I'm in pain, I'm hurting. And then what I do is I give that pain away. And like me, I became super ninja chick. Let me go and fight the world, take it on, be a strong mom, feed my child, go overseas, end up in Australia with 2 small children, pink suitcases. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep pushing because it hurts so much. Right? And so we have to do forgiveness. And I know it's not easy to forgive. And I want to say this about forgiveness. Healing is a journey. And the lack of forgiveness comes from fear. And it's that really painful place where I just can't let it go. And I know that my freedom only came with forgiveness. And I want to share something. It's not just the forgiveness of the person who was involved or the people that were involved when shame happened to me. It's also forgiving me. Because with every action comes a reaction. And if my reaction is born from fear, it's never going to be something that will really help me be more. It's always going to be something that's going to take away more from me.
And I assume your proposition isn't necessarily that this is a decision or a quick fix. This has been a time of working in it, as you called doing the work.
Yes. doing the work. You know, when I heard Brene Brown talk about that a few years ago, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to study everything. I'm going to know how to do it. And I'm going to be on, I know, you know.
Instant healing, right? There you go.
Woo-hoo! And I'm just going to, I'm going to go there. What I didn't realize was that I probably needed someone to walk beside me. See, I need to bring my shame to light. Like, those old analogies where the vampire disappears in the sunlight, right? Don't know why that analogy is there, but I need to bring this pain to light. But I need to bring it to light with somebody who's not going to judge me for my story, but that's going to stand next to me and go, God, that looks shit. I agree with you. That is shitty. Now that we've agreed that it is what it is, let's release it.
Yeah, it's finding that right partner so it doesn't become a dirge, but actually, I heard the other day there was this concept that was proposed that actually when you think you're being buried, you might be planted. So it's about that kind of the rebirth, the life, the coming back to. Yes.
Absolutely. It is about that. And I think we do need to find a safe space, a space of people who see us for who we are, not for who we aren't.
Now, Christina, as you guys were talking, I was thinking about this terminology or term that is used in African philosophy where we come from. It's the term Ubuntu. And Ubuntu, to just Google it again just to make sure that I don't misquote it, because that would be horrible. So, but I'm just going to do the best I can, and if I get it wrong, apologies way ahead. The term is I am because we are.
I am because we are.
Because we are. A person is a person through other people. And this is the beauty of what I've come to see as the Ignite Purpose family, a group of people that are with a similar idea of life and growth and transformation. And that might be different for all of us because it's not the same. For some people, a little bit is good. For some people, we're going for the whole enchilada. Some people, it's somewhere in between. And I don't think there should be judgment for anyone in whatever that transformation looks like. But it definitely, I believe, a person is a person through other people because we are connected to the universe, to other people. I believe in the concept of constellations, which is a term we use in coaching where one person, like a spider's web, affects the rest of society.
Totally.
And our pain, and you speak about this a lot, our pain sometimes finds a resonance through generations and to other people.
Absolutely.
So if someone's watching this tonight and going, look, I don't get the whole healing thing. I don't get the whole, this is important because our lives resound through those around us. If you've got anybody you love, anybody, and I hope everybody's got a lot of people that they love, self-work is important.
Totally.
Not only for you, but for those people around you. Like I've got kids, I know you've got children, lovely people. Your youngest son was driving me around today. But our lives affect everyone around us. Apart from ourselves, we live through other people. And I don't think that can be moved apart from. But this segues me right back into the book, because I want to talk a little bit about this. You have a protagonist in the book called Shabina.
Yes.
And Shabina goes through a transformation into a new lady called Tahila.
Yes.
And I wonder if you could just give us a little bit of a quick idea about what the concept was behind that.
When we're born into this world, we're beautiful. For everyone who's held their baby in their hands the first time, so innocent, so perfect, so beautiful. And then life happens sometimes. It does happen to all of us. We grow but we seem to slowly but surely lose some of that magic that we had when we were born. And the story of Shabina or Tahila is about this beautiful glass angel that gets smashed to the ground. And her broken pieces lay about her. And they are hope, trust, dreams, all the good stuff she thought she deserved, that she was. So she ties them to her, and they pierce her, and they hurt, and she's broken. And she goes on this journey to this ancient city. And in the ancient city, that's where all broken angels pass through, and they give her her name, Shabina, which is fierce one. And she lives up to that name. And she goes in and they teach her how to use her pain as her armor and her weapons. And she fights battles, and she feels that she can become someone, and she makes money, and she's well known, and she has fame. And yet the pain still doesn't go away. And one night she wakes up from a dream that she's falling. And as she gets up, she goes for a walk. She walks into this desert. And around there's a fire, and there's this beautiful angel sitting there and welcomes her in. And as she sits down, he says, I see you, Tahila. And I just want to stop there. There's another beautiful African word called sawubona. And it says, I see you.
Yes.
It's a greeting that says, I see you.
Wow.
Not who you want to be, but I see you, Tahila. I don't see Shabina. I see Tahila. And there is this conversation between the two angels. And the other angel's name is actually Ava, which is love. So Tahila is song of praise, Ava is love. And Ava shows Tahila how to weave her story into her greatest gift with love. And I don't want to share any more because it's an amazing analogy. I just want to encourage everybody that this is that wonderful place where we walk into and we become more than we ever thought we could be, because that's actually who we were supposed to be. It's powerful, right? Or we drag our shame story around. I use this analogy, and I know I use analogies from South Africa because that's where I grew up. And when my editor read it, she was like, no, what is that paintbrush story? Get it out of the book. And I went, no, I'm not getting it out of the book. That paintbrush story is staying in the book because I want to share this. I'm sitting at a Melbourne airport quite a few years ago, and I can see my fourth marriage to the most beautiful man is running through my hands like sand. And I think, I can't do this again. Can't do this again. Because I'm dragging around this paintbrush like behind me that's just marking me as the shameful woman that can't keep her marriage, can't stay married, can't. And it was a surreal moment for me. Because in that moment, I realized where all my stories had been coming from. And then it was time to lay it down. And I saw my coach / therapist. Gosh, I love you, Robbie. And we sat down and he said, what do you want? I said, I just want to be peaceful. I'll share this with you. My change in my life has transformed my relationship with this beautiful man. It's transformed my relationship with my family. You're having a good chuckle there. Share, Paul. What's going on in your head?
No, I mean, I'm your brother. Can I only have a look? I was looking in at the time, going, oh dear.
It's okay.
And
We've still got a
that
few
it's,
minutes. We've still got a few minutes.
Yeah. So, and just before we go any further with that, guys, if you have any questions for Christina, post it in the Q&A. So if you have a question for her, post in the Q&A. We'll do our very best to answer that for you, or get her to answer that for you. Christina, you know, there's so much that we've just discussed tonight, but for me, the greatest point of this book, and I don't know if people can get this, it's a bridge. It's tools. So what you've done is you've initially created a metaphor. You've discussed your life, But the thing I love most about it is you don't have to stay there.
No.
And people might be able to identify with some of your story or a lot of the story. But the fact is, it's a bridge. So the tools at the end of the book give really some helpful insights or some helpful tools as a launch pad to actually experiencing some of that healing. And what we're not proposing is not any of this is going to be easy or quick. And for some people, we spoke about community, we might need a coach. And again, we're not proposing that as a fix, but it's just another thing that someone might need to think about, all depending on what their needs are. But this was definitely a bridge. But if you had to encapsulate, what would you say is the key ingredients of experiencing peace in this chaos that you were experiencing, although the world didn't see it? And by no means, because I know you, right? And I just want to say, you presented as a high functioning, driven professional, making the cash, doing the deeds, walking on water. I used to go, crikey Moses, this woman is flying. And like most stories, there's a curtain. And I love the story of the Wizard of Oz, because I think our lives are very much like it sometimes. We go to the city of Oz and there's the Wizard of Oz and there's a curtain.
Mm.
And very few of us are brave enough to open the curtain and really start, as Tsitsi was saying earlier, start doing that work of actually underpinning the foundations of our life. So we keep on putting wallpaper on walls that are cracking and hoping that's going to stop the building from falling down, when in actual fact, we need to at least start or attempt to start doing that work. And I think what I'm getting from your book, and please feel free to correct me, is that this is a proposition to say, this was my life, this was my truth. And what I'm proposing to you is actually, here's some ideas of how to achieve healing in your life. And what we at Ignite Purpose are really after is it the transformation of the individual to live a better life. Because that's what it is. If you get this right in your own life, it affects your business. Totally. And moving into that corporate space, you become a better leader, you become more authentic, you show empathy where violence, sometimes we experience abuse in the workplace.
Yeah, we do.
I have a big team that work for me, and I have to be very careful that the authority that's been given to me rests lightly in my hands, because it's purely a jacket I wear that actually affects the well-being of the people that work for me, work with me, and their families that they go home to. Our behavior can create immense amounts of crisis in people's lives.
Totally.
That affect their children, their relationships, their marriages. And we think we're just being good leaders or managers, and that's just in the corporate space.
Yeah. And
it creates blockage. It creates lack of performance in organizations when the leader can't lead themselves first. And I think this book was an insight into what may or may not, to some degree, lay within every one of us. Am I on the right track somehow?
You are on the right track, Paul. I mean, we run positive intelligence mental fitness programs here, the Shazad Shamin program. And often I'll have senior leaders on the program going, but my high achiever is a good thing. Yeah, not when I'm stepping on people to get where I've got to go. Not when I abuse people to prove that I'm good enough. And I want to say this because I want to put a lens of compassion and love on here. Nobody really wants to hurt other people. I don't believe that. But we hurt because we've been hurting. We hurt because we are overwhelmed by fear. We hurt because we don't feel. And it's time to feel. We talk about a few things, and I know we are watching time, but we were just over 9 for this. First thing is, when we don't feel, we isolate. And you said this, Ubuntu, give us the Ubuntu Ubuntu definition?
I am because we are.
Okay.
And a person is a person through other people.
Okay. So I need to share this. When we have been through so much pain, we are a facade of connection, but we're bloody lonely. We're so lonely. It hurts. We're so lonely. And you see, here's the other thing. When we suffer from loneliness, it becomes a chronic mental challenge, right? Because I'm disconnecting from myself. And that's why, that piece of cake and the extra chocolate just before I go to bed, or the whatever. And look, I'm not totally healed of that one, hey? But we're so alone that it's separating us from others. And I always talk about the we, not me. But in order to get to the we, the better the community, the family, the friends, connecting with love, hugging, 15-second hugs. I mean, I can keep going. I could keep you guys here for a lifetime, right? In order to do this, I need to choose me. I need to choose me first, work on me. I need to connect with me first, have love and compassion for me, forgive me, look at my life as a gift. And then I choose to stand with other people. And I choose those people wisely. Because if I'm moving to a circle where there's a lot of judgment and competitive behaviors, that's not the place for me. Okay. Does it mean that I don't like achieving? No, my gift of achievement is to deliver on goals and to work towards, it's a natural instinct for me. I just do it. But I need to flow towards it, not push. I need to be in that space where I bring the best of me. And yeah, I could share forever, but I just want to do a segue quickly.
I know, but we've so run out of time. You've got end off with
I've got to do two things, right? Firstly,
two things. Okay.
I'm running a masterclass for on the 1st of December. I'll run one in 2 time zones, one for the African time zone, Africa, UK, and one in Australia. And it's called Healing Through Love. So I just want to show a quick overview of that. It's not long. Let me just put it on. Okay. It's now playing in the background. I don't know how to switch it off. There's two things I'm just going to share. Let me see if I can find it. Is that we did promise to give away, just hang on. That is just driving me totally bananas. Apologies. Okay, there we go. Paul, I know I could see your face in that moment going, please help me. Man. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We have giveaways today, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it afterwards, and then we'll let you know. We have got a seat for our PQ program in January, which is positive intelligence. We're going to give it away.
And I've done it twice, guys. I tell you what, it changed my life. There you go.
And it's valued at $9,000.
And I'm not being paid for that. I'm telling you, it's worth every minute.
It's valued at $995 US dollars, which, of course, it's our gift to you. There will be a signed copy of the book posted to whoever we draw, and then also a $3,000 coaching package with myself. And so, yeah, those are the gifts. And of course, everybody that's attended today will also get access to our virtual app called Grow Me, and you'll be able to attend the growth program that's in there. So I think, I'm so excited. And thank you, Carmen. I just love it. Paul, is there anything you want to say in closing?
Christina, I just wanted to thank you for your bravery, your honesty, and your sharing of life. And to everyone out there, we thank you for joining us this evening. And can I just ask you to think about this for a second? Life is worth living. Obviously, Christina's book is empowering, and there's some really great pieces of work out there. But I would like to invite you to life this evening, or this morning, wherever you are in the world. I'd like you to invite you to a life that is better than you thought that it could be. I'd like you to invite you to a life that is full of peace and acceptance. And when you can start lying in bed at night and close your eyes and go, I am here, I've done what is necessary, tomorrow will take care of itself. I wish you peace. So from us here in Australia this evening, to those of you wherever you are in the morning, in the day, we wish you a restful evening. We thank you for the gift of your presence.
Yes.
And Christina, good night.
Good night, Paul. Good night, everybody. We'll be in touch, sending lots of love. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Till we meet again. Goodbye.
Thank you for spending time watching our book launch or listening to our book launch if you've tuned into our podcast. This is Christina Foxwell, and I want to say please click like, share, be part of our world. And why don't you order a copy of The Glass Angel for yourself and really see if any of the story can tick some boxes for you. It's available on, if you're in South Africa, on loot.co.za. If you're in the US, Canada, or UK, Europe, it's available on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And if you're here in Australia, it is available on Amazon. Why don't you hit our website, www.ignitepurpose.com.au, and we'll send you your copy from our offices. It's been so wonderful to spend time with you today to explore growth, transformation, healing, and how we can be better together. This is Christina Foxwell. Check us out on social media. We want to be in your world.